Hello, fifth graders. So the past couple of days, we have been dealing with division and estimating division problems and solving division problems that are powers of 10. And now we're going to get into a few ways to divide whole numbers. And the first way we're going to talk about is using area models, okay? Now an area model is this little diagram, okay? And we break it up into tens and ones when we use the area model. Now I have this template laid out with a bunch of different labels so you know exactly where to put everything. But before we even begin this problem, just like any problem we would ever do, we first want to estimate. Because remember, when we estimate, it tells us if our answer that we get as our final answer, which is going to be right here, sounds reasonable, okay? So I look at 154 divided by 11. Again, just like we were doing the other day, you start with the divisor. So 11 is really close to 10, okay? And then 154, I can make 150 because my basic fact is 15 divided by 1, which is 15. And you cancel out the 0, so there's no 0. So my estimate, our answer is going to be around 15. So now what we do, we put our divisor, which is 11, where it says divisor. We put our dividend where it says dividend, 154. Okay, and now this is the first step. You want to think 11 times how many tens? Meaning 1 10 would be 10. 2 tens would be 20, 3 tens would be 30, 11 times 10, 20, 30, what would get you as close to 154 as possible? Well, 11 times 110 would be 110. 11 times 2 tens or 20, okay? So 11 times 110, which is just 10, would give you 110. 11 times 2 tens, which is 20, will give you 220, which is too much. So 11 times 110 gets you as close to 154 as possible, and that's 110, okay? So you look at it, 110 would be 10, okay? But the reason why we only write the single digit 110 because we're dealing with a number that's going to be in a certain place value. So 11 times 110 gets you close to 154. And now we have the subtraction side, so we subtract. So we get 44. And now if you follow this arrow, I kind of use this for the template, put 44 here. Now we're dealing with the ones. Earlier we were dealing with the tens, now we're just dealing with the regular ones. So 11 times what gets you 44. And now for this problem to work, it should be exact. Okay, so 11 times what gives you 44? 11 times 4. Okay, so 11 times 4 is 44. Again, for these problems, you should be getting a 0 because that means that we don't have any remainders. So your final answer is 110 and 4 ones, or 14 as your final answer. And would you say, if you're looking, is 14 pretty close to 15 as our estimate? I would say so, okay? So your final answer for 154 divided by 11 is 14. So let's try another one. Again, we're going to estimate. So we look at that divisor first. What is 19 really close to? It's close to 20. And how can we change 2 into 28 so it's close to, or so it's a multiple of 2? We can do 220. If you wanted to do 200, you could too. So now our basic fact is 22 divided by 2, which is 11. Cancel out the zeros, you just have 11. So now we fill in our parts of this problem into our template. So our divisor is 19, we fill it in there. Our dividend's 228, okay? And we go through the same process. 19 times 110, which is 10, will give you 190. 19 times 2 tens, or 20, okay? Would that be too much? That would be too much. You would go over that amount, okay? Because you would double 190, that would be way too much. So 19 times 110, because we just figured out 110 is the same thing as saying 10. So 19 times 110 gets you as close to 228 as possible, which is 190. Okay, so now we subtract. So 12 minus 9 is 3. And now, so we only have 38. And we put the 38 now up here. So we dealt with the tens place here. Now we're dealing with the ones place here. So 19 times what gets you 38? What number? 19 times what number gives you 38? 19 times 2. So we put the 2 there, 2 ones. 38 exactly. And 38 minus 38 is 0. Again, we're not dealing with any remainders or anything. For these problems, you should be getting a 0. Okay? If you don't, this would be the remainder. If you don't get a 0 here, this would be the remainder for your problem. Okay? And so our answer is 1 10 and 2 ones, which is 12. So 12 is our answer. Would you say 12 is fairly close to 11? I would say so. Okay? So that makes sense. I feel like our answer is pretty close to our estimate. Let's try one more. All right, so for this one, we'll estimate, and then I want you to try to solve this area model by yourself in your notes first. I want you to try this by yourself, but first let's estimate. So estimate this answer in your notes and see what you get as your estimate. Well, for this, 16 I can change to 20, okay? And then I'm looking at 720. Okay, I could even change the 720 to 800. So my basic fact is 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And we have the 0, which would be 40. Okay, so our estimate is going to be around 40. If you got somewhere in between 35 and 45, somewhere around there, that's totally fine. If you chose different numbers. All right, so now we're going to fill in our divisor and our dividend. Okay, now we estimated 40. So look at all of our other estimates. They all started with ones, so we would have 110. This started with a 1, so we would have 110. But this problem starts with a 4. So my guess is that probably it's not going to be 110 or 2 10s here. My guess is it's probably going to be either 3 10s or 4 10s because my estimate starts with a 4. So I wouldn't be putting a 1 or a 2 in this area, okay? And again, guys, that's kind of using number sense to make this problem easier to solve. You don't want to do more work than you have to. So let's first figure out what 16 times 3 10s would be. And I'm choosing 3 because I rounded up the 720 to 800, okay? So 40 is an overestimate for me. So I'm thinking that maybe it might be 3 10s. But first we need to figure out what 16 times 3 is. So 6, 12, 18. So it would be 48 or 480. Okay, so 16 times 3 10s or 30 is 480. Now, I don't know. Maybe I can get a little bit closer to 720. So let's just check 16 times 4 real quick and see what we get. So 6 times 4 is 24. Oh, that would give me 840. So I know that 16 times 3 10s, because that's equal to 30. So 3 10s gets me as close to 720 as possible. So I put the 480 here. So and then I subtract 0. This becomes a 6, becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4, and then we have a 2. So now we put the 240 here, okay? So now I have to figure out 16 times what gives me 240. Well, I know that it's not going to be 30, obviously, because that's 480, okay? So again, 16 is around 20, okay? 20 times 2. So let's see. So that would be 240. Okay. So let's do, I know it's going to be a lot. Let's try 16 times 8. Let's say. Okay. So again, sign multiplication for a division problem is totally okay, guys. So we do a 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That gives me 128. Okay, maybe I can get a little bit closer. $16 times 9. That gives me 54. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 144. Let's see. Times 3, 6, 12, 18. 16 times 4. That's why. Okay, so it's 720. So that's 480. But let's see if we can get a little bit closer. So 16 times 4, that will give me 24. That will give me 640. Okay, let's maybe try 16 times 5. Okay, so that will be 5, 6, 7, 8. That will be 800. So that's too much. So it actually... So 16 times 3 tens, which is 30, gives me 480. So if I try 16 times 4, maybe I can get a little bit closer to 720. Okay. Oh, that gives me 64. So 16 times 4 tens, which is 40, is 640. So that's a little bit closer. So it's 16 times 4 tens gives me 640. I subtract. Okay. 12 minus 4 is 8, so that, and then this is a 6, so 6 minus 6 is 0, so it's 80. So now I'm trying to think, 16 times what gives me 80? Okay, now again, I can use estimation. 16 is around 20. 20 times 4 gives me 80, so maybe 16 times 4 will get me close to 80. That gives me 64. So let's try 16 times 5. Which is 80. So 16 times 5, okay, gives me 80 exactly. 80 minus 80 is 0, okay? So I have no remainders. I got it exactly. So my estimate was 40, okay? But my actual answer is 4 tens plus 5 ones, which is 45. All right, so attached to this Ed puzzle, actually it's not going to be attached. You're going to have your, a Google slide in your Google Classroom today, which has templates exactly like these, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to fill in those templates based on what the division problem is. All right, so again, just like we've been doing, you want to estimate first, and use this estimate to help you. I use this estimate to help me decide what my tens were going to be. Since it was a 4, I know it's probably going to be either 3 or 4. Okay, so use those estimates to help you decide what your first digit or your tens place is going to be. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a good day, guys. Bye.